Back in 2019, I was just like any other teenager, heading to school with my backpack and mind wandering far from the reality around me. As I stepped into the classroom, while everyone else was preparing for their lessons, my mind wasn't focused on trigonometric functions or the complex world of matrices. Instead, I was lost in my own universe, obsessing over the world of Minecraft. From the first period to the very last, my imagination wandered into a blocky universe where diamonds were waiting to be discovered, and where I would spend countless hours planning my next virtual adventure. Whether it was building houses with friends or laying TNT traps, my brain was completely absorbed in a world that didn't exist beyond the screen. I couldn't wait to get home and dive back into it. However, looking back now, I can see how cringeworthy it all feels. But you know what? That's a sign of progress. If you ever look back at your past self and cringe, it usually means you've grown. Back then, I didn't even know what self-improvement meant, let alone cared about it. My only focus was on gaming, and I didn't see the bigger picture. But now every time I cringe at who I was, I can see that I'm making progress slowly but surely. It's not that everything I did was wrong. It was simply part of the process. It's only by reflecting on who we used to be that we can appreciate how far we've come. One thing I've learned over time is that being able to look back and laugh at your old self is often an indicator of growth. Progress in life is not about massive leaps every day, but rather the slow, gradual process of becoming better than you were. If you look at your past and still feel the same, then maybe you're stuck in the same cycle. For example, if I were to still be obsessed with Minecraft today, I'd know that I hadn't grown much since my teenagers. But now my interests have shifted. My focus has changed today. I find myself watching self-improvement content videos from creators like Hamza, Iman Gadzhi and Sweet Tab Gang War on a daily basis. Just like I used to binge watch Minecraft videos, I now binge self-help videos. But despite the new obsession, I've come to realize that nothing has fundamentally changed. Sure, the content I consume is different, but my behavior remains the same. I have merely replaced one source of dopamine with another. Instead of being addicted to a game, I'm now hooked on the idea of self-improvement. The problem is, even though I watch these videos religiously, my life remains static. I might feel good about watching motivational content, but when it comes to actually implementing the advice and making real changes, I fall short. I'm still chasing that high, but through a different medium. And that's where the issue lies. The issue with today's self-improvement culture is that many of us, including myself, have fallen into a trap. We think that watching endless amounts of content about becoming better is enough to bring about real change. We get the dopamine hit from feeling like we're learning something, but in reality we're just as stuck as we were before. The truth is, we're not improving ourselves. We're just consuming more information. It's a cycle of passive consumption disguised as productivity, and it keeps us trapped. Back when I was younger, Minecraft gave me the same sense of achievement. I felt like I was building something meaningful in the game, but in real life I wasn't moving forward at all. Now, instead of building virtual houses, I'm building the illusion of self-improvement. I know it sounds strange, but it's like my brain hasn't learned the difference between real-world progress and the fake sense of accomplishment I get from watching someone else improve their life. Deep down, I know I need to take action, but it's so much easier to keep scrolling through motivational content. The more I consume, the more I feel like I'm doing something, when in fact, I'm just delaying the real work that needs to be done. And that's the core of the problem. Another major problem with the self-improvement movement is the unrealistic expectations it sets. People are constantly told that they need to meditate, practice mindfulness, and find inner peace, as if these practices will instantly solve all their problems. But here's the thing: meditation is great, but it's not the magic solution to everything. It's ironic that we're being told to relax and find peace at such a young age, when we haven't even faced the real challenges of life yet. I often wonder what's going to happen when we hit our 20s, and the real pressures of life start to hit us. Will we just meditate our problems away? I'm not saying meditation is useless. Far from it, but I do think we're over-relying on it as a cure for all mental struggles. Right now, the stresses we face are minor compared to what's coming in the future. If we can't handle a bit of school, work, or teenage drama without meditating every day, what will happen when real responsibility lands on our shoulders? It's almost like we're setting ourselves up for failure by creating a dependency on these practices. Instead of learning to cope with stress and handle life's challenges head-on, we're retreating into the idea that we need to be constantly at peace. To me, this entire self-improvement cycle has started to feel like another form of escape, just like video games once were. The more I think about it, the more I realize that I'm still avoiding real growth. I'm chasing quick fixes and short-term solutions, instead of confronting the deeper issues. Back when I was obsessed with Minecraft, I used it as an escape from school and other stresses in my life. Now I'm doing the same thing, but with self-help content. It's almost like I'm addicted to the idea of self-improvement, rather than the actual process. And the social media algorithms don't help either. They're designed to keep us hooked, feeding us more of the content we want to see. They know we're chasing that dopamine rush, so they keep recommending more motivational videos, more self-improvement gurus, and more success stories. It's a never-ending loop, and the more we consume, the more we feel like we're making progress. But the harsh truth is we're not. The algorithms aren't designed to help us improve. They're designed to keep us engaged. And as long as we're sitting there, scrolling through endless videos and articles about self-improvement, we're not actually taking any meaningful action in our own lives. It's all too easy to fall into this trap and think that consuming content is equivalent to personal growth. The solution, however, lies in breaking this cycle. We need to stop confusing consumption with action and start actually applying the lessons we've been learning. Watching 100 videos on how to build discipline won't matter if we don't actually get up and do something. It's about taking small, consistent steps, not waiting for some magical piece of advice to change everything overnight. The truth is, real progress is slow and often uncomfortable. It's not as glamorous as social media makes it seem, and it doesn't come with quick rewards. But that's the point. We need to embrace the discomfort and understand that growth comes from action, not from watching others improve. In my own life, I've realized that it's time to put down the phone and start putting in the work. It's time to stop pretending that I'm on a self-improvement journey just because I watch a bunch of videos about it. Real improvement comes from changing habits, facing challenges, and doing the hard things that we often avoid. Whether it's waking up earlier, going to the gym, or working on a side project, the key is to take action. Even if it's small, it's about showing up every day and doing something, no matter how insignificant it might feel in the moment. That's where true growth happens. One thing I've started doing is focusing on building real-life skills, rather than just consuming more information. Instead of watching endless videos about productivity, I've started applying the techniques I've learned. For example, I now use the Pomodoro technique to manage my time better. It's a small change, but it's made a big difference in how much I can get done in a day. Rather than wasting hours on social media, I dedicate focused time to my work, and I am starting to see real results. It's not about making massive changes overnight. It's about taking those small, actionable steps that lead to real progress. Another shift I've made is in how I consume content. Instead of passively watching motivational videos, I've started taking notes and setting specific goals based on what I've learned. For instance, after watching a video about building better habits, I wrote down 3 specific habits I wanted to focus on: waking up early, exercising regularly, and spending less time on my phone. I then created a plan to implement those habits, tracking my progress each week. By taking this more structured approach, I've been able to turn the knowledge I've gained into real, tangible results in my life. The most important lesson I've learned through all of this is that real self-improvement doesn't happen on a screen. It happens in the real world. It's about taking what we've learned and applying it to our lives in meaningful ways. Whether it's learning a new skill, starting a side project, or simply making better use of our time, the key is to focus on action, not consumption. We need to stop relying on the quick dopamine hits from motivational content and start embracing the slow, often difficult process of real growth. It's not always fun, and it's definitely not as glamorous as social media makes it seem, but it's the only way to make meaningful progress. Looking back, I've come a long way from the days when I was obsessed with Minecraft. I've realized that true growth comes from stepping out of my comfort zone and taking action, not from hiding behind a screen and consuming endless amounts of content. It's about making small, consistent changes that add up over time. So, if you're like I was stuck in the cycle of passive consumption, it's time to break free. Put down the phone, stop watching and start doing. Only then will you begin to see the real transformation that you've been searching for.